Hare Krishna. So can we start? Then Pranam Maharaj.
Krishna.
Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Urmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Mishram Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sa Sri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sadivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsta Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pujarine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pasatale Sitarine Panchakalpadruvaisa Kripa Sindhuvecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Nam Nevatase Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopsa Gopta Kanta Radha Kanta Namasate Sapta Kanchan Gaurangi Sri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nilacharya Vasaya Nitya Paramatmane Balbhadra Subhadra Vyam Jagannatha Ite Namah जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे इन सारे नाम पढ़ना है नाम हरे कृष्ण. So today we'll be starting with chapter number 11 and we'll try to do some portion of chapter number 12 also because only one class is remaining. So I think I have said chapter number 11. So chapter number 11 is calculation of time from the atom. So the technical section. So we'll start with text number 1. So somebody can just read text number 1 and the purport.
What can I do? Hare Krishna. Vijay, can I start?
Lisa Madhuri, are you reading?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm asking, can I start? Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can I start? Can you hear me?
Just a minute. Some problem. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can you hear me?
And now I can hear you, yes. So you read text number 1 and purport?
No, I did not, Prabhuji. I was waiting.
Okay. In this region.
Text number 1, translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The material manifestations, ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. It exists always as an invisible identity, even after dissolution of all forms. The material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is much understood by the common man. The atomic description of Srimad Bhagavatam is almost the same as the modern science of atomism, and this is further described in the Paramanu Vad of Kannad. In modern science also, the atom is accepted as the ultimate indivisible particle of which the universe is composed. Srimad Bhagavatam is the full text of all descriptions of knowledge, including the theory of atomism. The atom is the minute, subtle form of eternal time.
So this is a philosophy given by Kannad Rishi. And actually speaking, atom is not a very good translation for Anu, because atom is also divisible. Although originally, according to science, also atom is supposed to be indivisible particle, but now we have proton, neutron, electrons. All these things are there in the atom. So atom is not very good translation, and this is the one of the reasons. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Silpopad, he wanted to make a whole dictionary of having proper explanation for each Sanskrit word. Like soul. Soul also is not a very good translation for Atma, because the Western conception of soul is that no humans have soul, animals have no soul. So practically speaking, being a Malaysian language, English is not a very good language to explain these things. But the smallest individual particle that can be called as Anu or atom. And Kannada Rishi's philosophy called Parmanuvad, which is also called Vaisesika. It is one of the 6 essence. And according to that, everything is calculated in terms of atom. Please read second and third. Second, third, and fourth, all 3 of them.
Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. Text 3. One can estimate time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. Text 4. Atomic time is measured according to its covering. A particular atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time.
So there is a small time or atomic time, the time it takes to cover atomic space, basically, and there is a big time, great time also, which is the time taken to cross over all the atoms of the universe. That is considered a great time. So that is how this time is calculated. Please read 5, 6, and 7. Anyone else? Please continue. Other devotees are like prepared.
The division of gross time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make 1 double atom, and 3 double atoms make 1 hex atom. This hex atom is visible in the sunshine, which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hex atom goes up towards the sky. Text 6. The time duration needed for the integration of 3 thrust renus is called a Truti, and 100 Trutis make 1 Veda. 3 Vedas make 1 Lava. Text 7. The duration of time of 3 lavas is called 1 Nimish. The combination of 3 Nimishas make 1 Shana. 5 Shanas combined together make 1 Kashta, and 15 Kashtas make 1 Lagu.
So, as far as it seems from the literatures, Vedic literatures, when we have pinhole in any seat, then hexatom is visible from whatever light comes from that. So from that, hexatom is visible. So suddenly dust particles are visible, but the smallest particle which is visible is hexatom. So that is what seems to be from this particular text. Okay, now there will be construction of how to measure it also. Please read 8th, 9th, and 10th.
15 lagus make 1 nadik, which is called a danda. 2 dandas make 1 mural, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night according to human calculation. Text 9. The measuring pot for 1 nadika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pal weight 14-ounce pot of copper, in which a hole is bored with a gold prop weighing 4 massa and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called one danda. Text 10. It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month.
So now this is a measuring pot for measuring time. So how it is made is, so if one has a pot of copper and the weight is given 6 pala or 14 ounce, and the hole is bored from a gold probe, which is 4 mass and 4 fingers long. That means from that we can understand the diameter of the holes. So one day I was sitting down and trying to calculate, so that diameter of the hole is clear. And when the pot is put in the water, the time it takes for the water to overflow, that is called one danda. So that's a Vedic way of measuring time. Dhananjay Prabhu, what is current way of measuring time? How do they measure now?
Hare Krishna. So they are using the atomic clock. At a particular temperature, the atoms are vibrating in their lattice. So that completely one vibrations, that is completing the one cycle, and that time they measure, that is the standard of time.
Okay. What is that called?
That they call it atomic clock.
Atomic clock. What is time? Time, what is measured? What is that called? Unit of time that is measured by.
Unit of time, this is a fractions of seconds. That's so that whole cycle when it complete, because atoms are not fixed, it is always vibrating. So one complete cycle of vibrations from its latest positions at particular temperature. So that is how it is measured as a fractions of a second. So that is one way of doing it. Another thing, it is related with this electromagnetic wave, like electromagnetic wave cycle, which is coming from these Maxwell equations, that we see the electromagnetic waves. So from there, the time it is measured. So these are the two methods which is used. Older one is the atomic clock, and newer one, latest one, that is based on this electromagnetic waves, so which is coming from this Maxwell equations.
Okay. Currently, it is atomic clock and Maxwell equation.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe in your laboratory you can try for this one also.
I'll going through it, but that pot, the weight it is mentioned, but basically what is the thickness, because thickness of the wall, it is going to define the size of the pot. So the thickness, because this weight of the pot it is given, but what is the wall thickness, then only we can able to get the volume. And again, that volume can be optimized, like if it is for particular thickness, when it is a spherical, then you get the maximum volume. So the shape factor, it is also going to define that what is going to be the total volume, because there's from the pinhole, the water it is entering, that is purely based on the weight pressure which is employing, and that will allowing this water to seep in through that hole, because the dia of the hole, which is defined based on this quantity and length which has been given, so dia one will get. But the thing is, weight will define the rate of flow of water into it. But the thing is that volume, until unless we don't have the thickness of the wall, volume will vary. So those part, it is not clear from this verse. And the first sloka, when you said, because basically atom Hindi translation is Pramanu, not Anu. Anu is molecule. So here also they were talking about Pramanu. But that Pramanu connecting with the time scale, that is one thing which is quite interesting to look in. And when the time scale, which is so mass relation, because mass energy convergence is there, but mass time where this of course they are measuring this sun which covers the one atom, that is the smallest time scale which they are talking about, 8 by 13,500. So those are the things with modern science that is to be required to be correlated. Of course, this is a very deeper meaning. So one can able to find it, then one can able to definitely correlate. But what they are saying that one atom, that is Pramanu, two atom combining, that is the next, and then this two combining into three, so that's six atom, like two combining into three. So it's a hexa atom combination. So those were very really interesting to look it from the modern scientific perspective.
Yeah. So we can correlate with it. People can be brought slowly to Srimad Bhagavatam. That would be like a bridging way.
Yes. Like this one. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 11th and 12th. So please read 11th and 12th also. I think we are done.
The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pitta planets. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. Text 12. 2 solar movements make 1 day and night of the demigods, and that combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years.
Yeah, that's like maximum in Kali Yuga. So this shows the relativity of time in the universe. So 1 complete day and night of Pitta, that means that 24 hours is equivalent to our 1 month. So Shukla Paksh is their day and Krishna Paksh is their night. And generally it is considered that on the day of Amavasya, all these Pitris, those are from Pitri Loka, they enjoy nectar, Amrit. Then there is a calculation given out Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. So Uttarayan is the day of demigods. So this was in Pitri Loka and this is in Devloka. Devloka means where demigods stay. So Uttarayan is the day and Dakshinayan is the night. So in this way, 1 year on this earth is equal to 1 day of demigods. Demigods means Devtas, not the Pitris. For Pitris, our 1 month is equivalent to 1 day of Pitris. Our 1 year is equivalent to 1 day of the Devtas. And what to say of Brahma? It's like very Yogas is 12 hours.
Your voice is breaking in between.
Is it breaking for everyone? Dhanapur, it is breaking for you also. Then I'll make some changes.
It is fine. Sometimes it is so that all of us are there in between, like a fraction of moment it is going off. So otherwise it is more or less fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll switch off fan. Just I think it will not break now. Hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the different calculation of time. And all these divisions of time are there in this chapter, which I took from Subodhini. So Parmanu is the smallest atom, then 2 Parmanus, 3 Anus. Truti is the time it takes for one hexatom. So that is the smallest element of time measured as per Srimad Bhagavatam. That's 8 by 13,500 seconds. Then there is Veda, Lava, Nimesa. So Nimesa is 8 by 15. What is the time it takes for human eye to blink?
I think it's Nimisha only, Praji, because when it comes Nimisha Kshetra in Bhagavatam, that is because Lord doesn't blink his eye. So maybe
Yeah.
it's the same time.
No, that is why I was relating with it. I'm asking from the point of view of modern science. If both are telling, it's like a good bridge. So I read that in physics, but I've forgotten now. Dhananjay Prabhu, you remember how much it takes to blink the eyes?
One by 10 seconds. That is what the standard they use.
Okay. Anyway, we believe in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam 8 by 15 seconds. So Nimesa. So then with Chana, Kasta, Laghu, Nadika, Danda. One Danda is 30 minutes. And Murta. So we have Murta 1 hour. So generally we have Submurta. So that means this hour is good, this hour is not good. That's like 1 hour time. So then Praharyama, day, night. And in a year, according to Vedic calendar, we have 360 days, not 365 days. So 360 days are there. That's why some of the calculations between Vedic calendar and modern calendar may not match. So we believe in we have 360 days. And then we have Adhik Mas, which is going to come Purushottam Mas, that compensates. Okay. So this is Vedic time. So I'll just take it down. Yeah, 17, 13, 14th.
Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kal. 14. There are 5 different names of the orbits of sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own samvatsara.
Yeah. So in this way they rotate, and according to rotation, they have their own time calculation, rotation revolution. Yes, Diksha Mata, you had a question?
Yes, Proji, I wanted to ask, like, Proji, can I please ask that how will it help, like, all these calculations which we are studying in Bhagavatam, how can we use this in, like, discussing with devotees and, like, for our growth? How
Okay.
will we be using all these shlokas?
Okay. So why these such informations are given in Bhagavatam? How will they help in spiritual life? So certainly from one point of view, when we read all these things, it it strengthens our faith on Bhagavatam. So whenever I give classes to very new people, generally I take this chapter and chapter number 31 of third canto, that is movement of living entities. Because these two chapters are so scientific that new people also, they understand, okay, Bhagavatam is so scientific. So that is how these chapters, they are like a building block of faith on scriptures. So that is how they are like very helpful. Like if we see in 31st chapter, the description, the way embryo grows in the womb of the mother, the details which are given, even many of my relatives who are gynecologists, I confirmed with them, Bhagavatam is more precise than the modern day gynecology also. And when people read, I told my relatives that these purports were written in 1970s. It was like something which they couldn't even believe. Because they were telling that only in 1980s they got this work-capable electronic microscope which are used in medical. Although they were like discovered before, but they became workable after in 1980s only, after 1980s. So how Prabhupada gave all those purports, all the translations were there. Vyasdev wrote 5,000 years back. So this really built up their faith. So then they got a lot of faith on Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is how all these chapters. And then we'll find, rather they were telling, like zygote formation is there, understand it is between 5th and 6th day. But Bhagavatam is more precise. The word which is used in 31st chapter is Pancharatrena Budbudam. It happens on 5th night. So when they heard that precision, it was like mind-blowing. And certainly one thing was which can be misused, which generally we don't use. Prabhupada writes that when the baby within the womb takes a left turn, first turn is left turn, then sees a girl. If she takes a right turn, then it is a boy. So all these details are like mind-blowing, and they build a lot of faith on scriptures. So this is one of the reasons. And also Vedic calculation is like a very important part of Vedic culture also. When we have any ceremonies, even something like temple opening ceremonies, foundation laying ceremonies for the temples, we do talk about muhurta, submuhurta, all these things. So at least a little bit of these understandings have to be there. And some of the devotees are very particular about it. Like, as I heard from Subhak Swami Maharaj, that even Prabhupada would sometimes see the patras to see this is the auspicious or inauspicious movements. So not like so much, but he would sometimes refer. So that's what Maharaj told us. So in this way, all these things, they are like supportive sciences which are required for day-to-day activities, and they also are faith building. Okay, Diksha Mata.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Very good. And also different topics are of different interest. Like one of the topics which devotees really scratch their head to understand is some of the chapters of Bhagavatam, complete chapters are just description of genealogy. His son was this, his son was that, his son was that. Devotees say, why so much detail is given? So one of the reasons why it is given is it builds faith. It builds faith of people that so much description is given means that it has some value. Like nowadays, whenever people want to know that which religion is authentic, non-authentic, so this is not supposed to be like this, not the highlight of the class, but they generally say, you tell your 4 ancestors. So then it is exposed that how Vedic culture or Sanatan Dharma is Sanatan. For people of other religion, many times, they don't know their 4 ancestors because the 3-4 ancestors before, they were from some other religion. So, but when the whole dynasty is given, we understand that we did come from Brahma. And also there are people within India who are very much interested in genealogy, especially ladies. So sometimes people say ladies don't have such analytical intelligence, but Indian ladies, my God, it's like they can tell you hundreds of relationships. His son, then he was married to him, and this and that is how I am related to that person. So it's like, so some people really have interest in all these things. So then Bhagavatam gives opportunity to everyone to somehow get attracted to Krishna. So genealogy is given, and then suddenly there is some pure devotee who comes in picture, or some avatar comes in picture, and then his detail is given. So that is how Bhagavatam attracts everyone. So we will not go in much detail now. So please read 15th.
O Vidura, the sun enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. He diminishes the duration of life of all the living entities in order to release them from their illusion of material attachment. And he enlarges the path of elevation to the heavenly kingdom. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity, and therefore everyone should offer his respects once every 5 years with all ingredients of worship.
So one should worship once in 5 years, time factor. So certainly, by worshipping Krishna, we worship everyone. And the description is given here. In a geocentric model, sun moves around the earth in 365 days, 365.25. This is like almost equal to the way we see sun-centric system. So that's like something which matches. So modern day they say, so our calculation is 360 only. We actually, according to Vedic calendar, we consider Ida Vatsar, there's other constellations. Parivatsar is 11.87 years for Jupiter. Vatsar is for all 27 constellations, which are wives of moon. Anuvatsar is, according to moon, is 327.6 days, and Ida Vatsar is 360 days. So they are Vedic calculations. And other reason which is given here is why time factor is being discussed here is also revealed in this verse. That by understanding time factor, we remember this world is temporary. So even if we go to Sargaloka, Brahmaloka, anywhere, this world is temporary. So the temporary nature of this world helps us to become detached from this world. That's why you'll find the Antim Sanskar in India, when a person departs from this world, all the relatives come together. Because when all the relatives come together, then they understand that this particular person was just near us, talking to us, suddenly he has left. And then they hear either Bhagavad Gita or Garuda Puran or Bhagavatam. They chant the holy names at that time. And that at least that time they really practice Shravanam Kirtanam very strongly. The reason is they understand that this world is temporary. So that is how by discussing about time, we also understand the temporary nature of this world. Yes, Duti Gopi Mataji.
Prajji, I wanted to ask, like here it is written that one should offer his respects once every 5 years. So is there a specific name for, a festival like that? Are we talking about a specific festival that we are aware of, or it's just that at least once in 5 years one should offer?
So maybe what I'll do, so wait for a minute, I'll just see if Vishwanath Thakur has written something about it. Just a minute. What was the verse number? Just a minute. This is 15th.
15.
Yeah. So we'll see 15th. Okay, there are 5 types of. Okay, now I understood. I'll just show you the purport by Vishwanath Thakur. So if you read it, then I think things will become more clear. I'll show you the purport of Chakravarti. Can you just read this translation purport?
The sun made out of particular material elements move in the sky, displaying with force the ability of planets to germinate through his energy of time and producing material results by means of ritual actions according to proper calculation of time. in order to dispel illusion of men. O performance of dharma, you should make offerings to the sun for promoting the 5 types of year. One may ask the purpose of having 5 different types of year. The religious acts accomplished by the various calculation of year are described in this verse. The sun, a particular form of elements, Bhuta Bheda, in the form of a ball of fire, moves in the sky, Divi, revealing Uchvasayan strongly in the form of Prasakya, the ability of planets to germinate. Why does it move in the sky? He increases the results such as attainment of Swarga, Gunamayam of those with material desires in order to destroy confusion for men. By actions performed with knowledge of the correct time for those actions according to the Samvatsara and other types of year. O followers of Dharma, you should offer articles of worship such as Arghya, Balim, to the sun in order to set in motion the 5 types of year.
So what we understand here is it's the worship which is offered to the sun, because sun is promoting 5 types of year. So 5 types of year we had already discussed in previously. I'll just show it again. So these are the 5 types of year: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 types of year are promoted, and that is why one should worship the sun. So that's exactly what Vishnu Thakur is quoting. And so it's like more of a karma kanda.
So Praji, once in every these 5 types of years, like once at least in the year of sun or in the Jupiter years, in that way, or it's just at least in one of these years?
So what is written here is one should offer the offerings to the sun, which promotes these 5 types of year. That is how Chakravarti Pasa read it. That means that he is promoting the worship of sun god. So generally in Bihar, they have this very famous festival.
Chhat Puja.
Chhat Puja, yes. So Chhat Puja is offered to the sun. Yes. But that is generally for promotion to heavenly planets. It is said that even the Kshatriyas who die on the battlefield, they also go to sun planet. So it seems that like now people worship sun generally for going to the heavenly planets. I will read 16 and 17. We have already read 16 and 17? No. Yeah, please read 16 and 17.
Vidura said, I now understand the life duration of the residents of the Pita planet and heavenly planets as well as that of the human beings. Now kindly inform me of the durations of life of those greatly learned living entities who are beyond the range of Kalpa. Text 17. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movements of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision.
She is basically asking the duration of life of the people beyond Swargaloka. Because in Swargaloka, whole cabinet changes 14 times in one kalpa, 14 times in one day of Brahma. So that's why he's asking about the people who live for more than one kalpa. Like in earth also, people who live for more than one kalpa are celebrated. Like Markandeya Rishi, Ashwathama. So all these people are like very popular, who stay for more than one kalpa. Okay, so duration of yogas is given here. Somebody can just read 18, 19, and then we'll show the table.
Text 18. Maitreya said, O Vidura, the 4 millenniums are called the Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. The aggregate number of years of all these combined is equal to 12,000 years of the demigod. Text 19. The duration of Satya millennium equals 4,800 years of the year of the demigod. The duration of Treta millennium equal to 3,600 years of the demigod. And the duration of Dwapara millennium equal to 2,400 years, and that of Kali millennium, it is 1,200 years of the demigod.
So here these are which demigods? These are Swargaloka demigods, not other demigods. So that's a demigod is also not a very good word. There are different types of demigod devatas. And we'll see here 1200 into 360 is 4,32,000. 2,400 into 360 is 864,000 years. So that's why if we divide them with 360, sorry, multiply them with 360, it is human years. So for demigods also, these calculations are there. That means Swargaloka demigods, and then there are human years also. So the details are given. Already devotees know about it, so we won't go in much detail. Please read 20, 21, 22.
Prabhuji, can you please show it again?
Okay. Yes, sir. Dhananjay, you have some question?
Yes, probably. So earlier we heard that in Swargaloka they have no old age or death, or only 90% of the time they stay young, and then in the end of life they progenate, and then when death they come down, and in that process their body are eaten up by yaksha. So in that case, do they also have all these four yuga which we experience on the Bhuloka, that is the Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga?
Yeah. So these durations are there, but now their effect may not be the way it is there in the earth. So the way it affects the earth, those effects may not be there, but the durations are always there. So the way the time is calculated in Swargaloka is also like that only, 1,200, 2,400, but the effects may not be there. But some effect is there. So although in the 5th canto it says that there is not much effect, but I heard one pastime from Jananavas Prabhu. So Jananavas Prabhu, when he just came to Mayapur, that time he heard one pastime of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur from one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. So he was telling that when Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur was moving in Mayapur with his cane, and suddenly he looked at moon, and he said, Kali Yuga is so degrading that even the people in the moon planet are getting affected. So then he said that it seems that Bhaktivedanta Saraswati has gone to now moon planet to preach there. So Janavas Prabhu was quoting that. So the point is that it seems that some effect is there, although it may not be the way it is there in Earth planet. So generally it is given that even in the Bhusvargas, that effect is more like Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga doesn't have much effect. But how we reconcile both the things is that seems there is some effect is there. It may not be like so grave, but some effect. Okay, Dhananjay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So please read 20, 21, 22.
Text 20. The transitional periods before and after every millennium, which are a few hundred years, as aforementioned, are known as Yuga Sandhyas, or the conjunctions of two millennium. According to the expert astronomers, in those periods, all kind of religious activities are performed. Text 21. O Vidura, in Satya millennium, mankind properly and completely maintained the principle of religion. But in other millennium, religion gradually decreased by one part as irreligion was proportionately admitted. Text 22. Outside of the three planetary system, that is Swarga, Martya and Patal, the four yugas multiplied by 1000 comprise one day on the planet of Brahma. A similar period comprises a night of Brahma in which the creator of the universe goes to sleep.
Yeah. So it seems above Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, all these places, people generally live for the duration of life of Brahma. And one kalpa is one night of Brahma, 12 hours. So 1 day and 1 night. So they're like 2 kalpas. 2 kalpas are like 2000 Chaturyugas, according to our calculation. That is 24 hours of Brahma. And like that, Brahma lives for 100 years. So there is a lifetime of Brahma. And also Yuga Sandhyas, I think it's in the 11th canto. That is almost 1/12 of the Yuga. That is considered Yuga Sandhya. So that means currently we are also in Yuga Sandhi time. Whole Kali Yuga, real Kali Yuga has not come. Of course, devotee when they fight, they say, no, Kali Yuga has come. So it's not, Kali Yuga has not come. Only Sandhi Kala is going on. And that is the reason we have all sort of religious activities being performed in the Sandhi Kala. So still we have some remnants of Dwapara Yuga. So still deity worship is there. And as Kali Yuga is progressing, Harinam Sankirtan is also becoming very popular. So that is a Yuga Sandhya time. Okay. Now duration of Manu. So please read at 23, 24, 25.
After the end of Brahma's night, the creation of the three worlds begins again in the daytime of Brahma, and they continue to exist through the life durations of 14 consecutive Manus, or fathers of mankind. Text 24. Each and every Manu enjoys a life of a little more than 71 sets of 4 millenniums. Text 25. After the dissolution of each and every Manu, the next Manu comes in order, along with his descendants who rule over the different planets. But the 7 famous sages and demigods, like Indra and their followers, such as Gandharvas, all appear simultaneously with Manu.
So after Brahma's night, so there are 4 types of annihilations. First annihilation takes place at the end of life of Brahma. Second type of annihilation takes place at the night of Brahma, after 1 day of Brahma is complete. Third type of annihilation takes place at every moment we're changing bodies. And the fourth one is the actual annihilation, which happens when we go back to Godhead. Then the entire material world only becomes destroyed for us. In that sense, Atyantik it is called. So that is how this 4 type of annihilation is there. So here what it discusses the annihilation at the end of night of Brahma. And in each Manvantar, and Manu lives for little more than 71 sets of 4 millenniums. Because in 1 day of Brahma, 14 Manus come, and 1000 by 14 is 71. And because he has to take 1 prastha also, after being grasta, so some more time is a little more than 71 sets is there, so that he can take 1 prastha also. And then other Manu comes in the picture. So rather 14 time Manu comes, and each period of the Manu, 71 Chaturyugas, is called 1 Manvantar. With each Manvantar, certain posts change. Like our government in India changes once in 5 years. Similarly, in universal government, certain posts change in 1 Manvantar. So who are they? So one is Manu,
Indra, seven
Ah.
rishis.
Indra, 7 rishis, Gandharvas.
Lord who is controlling at that time.
Yeah, so he's called a Manvantara Avatar.
Manvantara Avatar.
Current Manvantara Avatar is Vamandev for us. So all these people, so they all change in every Manvantar. So that is how each Manvantar changes the cabinet. Please read 26 and 27.
In the creation, during Brahma's day, the 3 planetary systems, Swarg, Martya, and Patal, revolve, and the inhabitants, including the lower animals, human beings, demigods, and pitas, appear and disappear in terms of their fruitative activities. Text 27. In each and every change of Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears by manifesting his internal potency in different incarnations as Manu and others. Thus, he maintains the universe by discovered power.
So that is how Manvantara Avatar is given 27th. And so many people from Sargaloka, Martaloka, Pataloka, they keeps on having so many lives, changing different bodies in one day of Brahma. Now, destruction at the end of Kalpa. Kalpa means that the same annihilation which I was talking about at the end of day of Brahma. So please read 28, 29, 30.
At the end of the day, under the insignificant portion of the mode of darkness, the powerful manifestation of the universe merges in the darkness of night. By the influence of eternal time, the innumerable living entities remain merged in that dissolution, and everything is silent. Text 29. When the night of Brahma ensues, all the 3 worlds are out of sight, and the sun and the moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. Text 30. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshan, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the 3 worlds below.
Yeah. So at the night of Brahma, the sun and moon, they lose their glare. And Sankarshan, who is holding all the universes on the top of his hoods, he becomes very angry. So whenever our devotees go and distribute books, people don't take it, Sankarshan becomes angry. This fellow, our devotees are distributing books, he's not taking up Krishna consciousness, he becomes angry. Because the whole facility of material world is given for making people Krishna conscious and sending them back to Godhead. And the anger increases and increases, and at the end of Brahma's night, it becomes out of control. So a great fire emanates from the mouth of Sankarshan, that's called Sankarshan. From that, 11 Rudras come out, and they devastate everything till Sargaloka. And because the heat goes even above, that's why people from Maharloka, like Bhrigu, etc., the Saptarishis, they go to Janloka. And everything below is destroyed. Please read 31 translation per.
At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow, and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus, the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all, the 3 worlds are full of water. Purport: it is said that the blazing fire from the mouth of Shankarshan rages for 100 years of the demigods, or 36,000 human years. Then for another 36,000 years, there are torrents of rain, accompanied by violent winds and waves, and the seas and oceans overflow. These reactions of 72,000 years are the beginning of the partial devastation of the three worlds. People forget all these devastations of the worlds and think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, or that which is not.
So that is how the reason why all the time scale is given. That we can't live in this world eternally. So 36,000 years of human years, everything is devastated by fire, and the whole water evaporates and makes Samvartan clouds. And then these Samvartan clouds, they rain for 36,000 years. So they're like pillars, not just drops coming down. And there are violent winds and waves. So in this way, 72,000 years, there's a whole devastation. Okay. Kanak Nayak, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Kanak Nayak. Prabhuji, I had a question in 26th text translation.
Okay.
It is said Swarga, Martya and Patala, they revolve and the inhabitants, including the royal animals. I didn't understand this bit because my understanding was that this Martya. So,
can you repeat Martya?
it is said in the creation during Brahma's day, the three planetary systems, Swarga, Martya and Patala revolve and the inhabitants. So I was a bit confused in that.
Okay, you need to understand the statement.
Yes.
Okay, see, what is given here is all the planets in these three planets, planetary system, Swargaloka, Martyaloka and Pataloka. So they move, and that is how what is meaning is revolving. And the inhabitants, they appear and disappear so many times. So the phenomena is given. What is given is, in one day of Brahma, so many things happen in all these three lokas, Swargaloka, Martyaloka and Pataloka.
But Martya Loka is fixed, right? It's supposed to be not moving.
Okay, you are confusing it with Bhumandal. See, here it is not said that Bhumandal is moving. Okay. What is said is that the planets within Bhumandal, they keep on changing their courses.
Okay.
So it's not said. It is not said that there's a Bhumandal is revolving. It's not like that. Okay.
And another project, 27th text, this last thing is, thus he maintains the universe by discovered power.
Discovered power means Lord has already given that power and he has just discovered that.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I will go to 32nd. You can just read 32nd.
The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta, and his eyes closed. And the inhabitants of the Janloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands.
And in this whole pralaya, what is Lord doing? Peacefully lying down and sleeping. So this is Supreme Lord. So there's a whole devastation, so much of rain and fire and so many things are happening. And Lord Ananta with all his hosts is seeing him. And what he is doing is peacefully sleeping. And that time the residents of Janloka, they offer prayers to him. So that's Krishna or Lord Narayan. He can do all these things. So now the duration of life of Brahma is given here. Lifespan of Brahma. Please read 33 translation as well as purport.
Thus, the process of the exhaustion of the duration of life exists of the living beings. Every living being lives for 100 years in terms of the times in different planets for different entities. These 100 years of life are not equal in every case. The longest duration of 100 years belongs to Brahma. But although the life of Brahma is very long, it expires in the course of time. Brahma is also afraid of his death, and thus he performs devotional service to the Lord just to release himself from the clutches of illusory energy. Animals, of course, have no sense of responsibility, but even animals who have developed a sense of responsibility while away their valuable time without engaging in devotional service to the Lord. They live merely unafraid of impending death. This is the madness of human society. The madman has no responsibility in life. Similarly, a human being who does not develop a sense of responsibility before he dies is no better than the madman who tries to enjoy material life very happily without concern for the future. It is necessary that every human being be responsible in preparing himself for the next life, even if he has a duration of life like that of Brahma, the greatest of all living creatures within the universe.
Thank you. So this responsibility which is talked about is responsibility toward Lord Vishnu. So everybody, so even Brahma is fearful. Now we may be amazed, how can Brahma be fearful? He has such a long lifespan. Because when one lives in pleasure, time also passes away very quickly. When one lives in distress, time goes off very difficult, with a lot of difficulty. So for Brahmaji, it passes very quickly because there's so much pleasure in Brahmaloka. So he's also fearful. He says, oh, my Lord, I have only lifespan of 2 parardhas. That is 100 years of his life. So that is the same thing as given here. 34, please read 34, 35, 36.
The 100 years of Brahma's life are divided into 2 parts, the first half and the second half. The first half of the duration of Brahma's life is already over. The second half is now current. Text 35. In the beginning of the first half of Brahma's life, there was a millennium called Brahma Kalpa, wherein the Lord Brahma appeared. The birth of the Vedas was simultaneous with Brahma's birth. Text 36. The millennium which followed the first Brahma millennium is known as the Padma Kalpa because in that millennium, the universal lotus flower grew out of the navel reservoir of water of the personality of Godhead Hari.
Yeah. So Parardha is half of life of Brahma, 50 years. And first Parardha is over. He's now already 50 years are over. And Brahma Kalpa is the first Parardha. It is the first day of first Parardha. That means that is the birthday of Brahma. Brahma is just born. Brahma is just born on Brahma Kalpa. The first day of Brahma is called Brahma Kalpa. Second day of Brahma is called Padma Kalpa. And it is sometimes also called Pitra Kalpa. And first day of second Parardha, which is the current day, it is called Varaha Kalpa. So currently we are in Varaha Kalpa. So these are different calculations. Yes, Diksha Mata.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like you said, that in the first Kalpa, Brahma is born. Second day, he comes out of the lotus flower. So what is the difference, Prabhuji? How can he be born without the lotus flower?
Okay. He is there within the lotus flower, but he comes out in one full day. Oh, he does a lot of tapasya, na? Till then, he's just trying to find his origin and coming out and going in. So he's doing all these exercises. So it takes time for him to really manifest and be peaceful and then start the creation. So this is like first day, all these leelas happen. Please read 37th.
O descendant of Bharata, the first millennium in the second half of the life of Brahma is also known as the Varaha millennium because the personality of Godhead appeared in that millennium as the hog incarnation.
Yeah. So Varahadev comes in this particular day of Brahma. That's why it's called Varaha Kalpa. And different Puranas there are also description of the particular day of Brahma. That's why Bhagavatam is little special than other Puranas. Because in different other Puranas in mode of goodness discuss about the days of Brahma which are in mode of goodness. Puranas in mode of passion are the Puranas which are a description of the days of Brahma in mode of passion. And Puranas in mode of ignorance are the descriptions of days of Brahma in mode of ignorance. So one of my counsellors, you can say, now he's a very serious devotee, chanting 16 hours more than 10 years. So when he just came to Krishna consciousness, he was from a place which is popular for Shiva worship. So the Devgad in Bihar, very famous for Shiva worship. So he was from that place. He was staying in the place just next to the temple of Lord Shiva, very near. So for him to give up Shiva worship was very difficult. So when he came to meet me, he brought whole Shiv Puran. I became very fearful. I never read Shiv Puran. And then he was telling, how can you say that? No, Krishna is God. It is very clear from here that Lord Shiva is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then I thought, okay, let me just see what is there in Shiv Puran. So when we opened the Shiv Puran, it was given that on the beginning of day of Brahma, immediately I caught it. Wait. Then I saw it in Bhagavatam. I said, this talks about time which is before Brahma. So do you believe this description or that description? So then I understood, okay. So even before Lord Shiva appeared, Lord Rudra appears, all the descriptions are given here. And that time Lord Vishnu was there. Aham eva sameva agre annat asat param. So he was there before the creation also. And now, even Brahma's lifespan is nothing in front of the Lord, is described here. Please read 38, 39 and 40.
The duration of the two parts of Brahma's life, as above mentioned, is calculated to be equal to 1 nimsa, less than a second, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unchanging and unlimited and is the cause of all causes of the universe. 39. Eternal time is certainly the controller of different dimensions, from that of the atom up to the superdivisions of the duration of Brahma's life. But nevertheless, it is controlled by the Supreme. Time can control only those who are body conscious, even up to the Satya Loka or the higher planets of the universe. Text 40. This phenomenal material world is expanded to a diameter of 4 billion miles as a combination of 8 material elements transformed into 16 further categories within and without as follows.
So although Brahma has such a big lifespan, but it's not even a second for the Supreme Lord. Actually speaking, according to Lord, such a thing doesn't exist. That is explained in 39. Because for us, our bodies are controlled by time factor. Whereas residents of the spiritual world, they control the time factor. They are not controlled by the time factor. So that's why we are controlled by time factor means we can't go back in time. And we can move in future also immediately. Whereas in the spiritual world, people can go back in time, they can move in the future also. So there's nothing like past, present, and future in the spiritual world. Jagadanand Pandit in his Prima Vaivarta explains with a very graphic description. So he says that Radha Krishna ek atma duite dhari annuna vilas aswadan kori. That means Radha and Krishna were one personality and they became two in order to enjoy. And then these Radha and Krishna, those were two, they become one and come as Lord Chaitanya. So who came first and who came second? Lord Chaitanya came first or Radha and Krishna came first? So is it that no, Lord Chaitanya was there who divided into two? Or is that these two personalities became Lord Chaitanya? And then he says nobody can understand. Because there's nothing like beginning or ending in the spiritual world. So Lord Chaitanya is eternally existing in the spiritual world, Radha and Krishna are eternally existing in the spiritual world. So that is how time is controlled by the Lord, whereas we are controlled by the time. So even Brahma's life is nothing in comparison to the Lord, at the time of the Lord. Please read 41st verse into purport.
The layers or elements covering the universes are each 10 times thicker than the one before, and all the universes clustered together appear like atoms in a huge combination. Purport: the coverings of the universes are also constituted of the elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and each is 10 times thicker than the one before. The first covering of the universe is earth, and it is 10 times thicker than the universe itself. If the universe is 4 billion miles in size, then the size of the earthly covering of the universe is 4 billion times 10. The covering of water is 10 times greater than the earthly covering. The covering of fire is 10 times greater than the watery covering. And the coverings of air is 10 times greater than that of fire. The covering of ether is 10 times greater still than that of air, and so on. The universe within the coverings of matter appears to be like an atom in comparison to the coverings, and the number of universes is unknown even to those who can estimate the coverings of the universes.
Yeah. So actual universe is so small and coverings are 10 times thicker. So it's like so big. So universe, 10 times of that is earth, then fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. So many coverings are there. So that is how earth looks, this universe looks so small. Please read the last one, 47.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is therefore said to be the original cause of all causes. Thus, the spiritual abode of Vishnu is eternal without a doubt, and it is also the abode of Mahavishnu, the origin of all manifestations.
So it's talking about Karan Sagar, where Karanodaksa Vishnu stays. So that is spiritual in nature. All other things we were discussed before, they're in the material world. So this completes our chapter number 11. Now we'll move to chapter number 12 because we have only one class remaining.
Would you please give 5 minutes break?
Okay.
Theoretical.
You want some break? Okay, okay.
5 minutes.
Okay, okay. Fine. So we'll come back at 6:20. Okay. Hari Hari. So now we'll come to chapter number 12, creation of the Kumaras and other personalities. So first 3 verses, they discuss about different types of Agyanvrittis, 5 types of Agyanvrittis. We'll discuss them in detail. And then Lord was not pleased with that. Brahmaji was not displeased. Sorry, he was displeased, not pleased. So then he created 4 personalities who are the incarnation of Vidya potency of the Lord. These are the 4 Kumaras. Brahmaji told them to further increase the population. They refused. Brahmaji became angry. Rudra came out. And then other personalities, they have also come out. That's given in 21 and 27. Marichi, Kardam, and many other. Then there's the Vak episode. Brahmaji running behind his own daughter. Then further creation is mentioned, how Brahmaji creates 4 Vedas, Upavedas, Pancham Veda, etc. And at the end, he saw that the creation is not increasing so much. And to solve his concern, Lord sends Swambhu Manu and Satrupa. And of course, they find that Bhumandal is below Garbhudak ocean. It has fallen to Garbhudak ocean. And that time Varahadev comes. That is there in the next chapter. So we'll start with first. Brahma first creates ignorance. Please read the first translation.
Sri Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his feature of Kal. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge.
So now further creation, after creation of Kal is explained here, the secondary creation by Brahma. So in the beginning, Brahma creates these 5 Agyanvrittis, which are mentioned in this particular translation. So you can repeat this verse after me. This is like worth memorizing. Sasarjagre andeta misram
Sasagre anda tam misram
atta misram adikrit
atata misram adikrit
mahamoham cha moham cha
mahamoham cha moham cha
tamascha jnana vrittayah.
tamasha jnana vrittya.
Please read translation as well as purport.
Brahma first created the nascent engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception of forgetfulness of one's real identity. Purport: before the factual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live were created by Brahma. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. Therefore, the first condition of the material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death, although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless. This false identification with the material nature is the cause of false ownership of things which are offered by the arrangement of superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in conditioned life. But due to false identification, the conditioned soul becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord. It is evident from this verse that Brahma himself is a creation of the Supreme Lord, and the 5 kinds of nescience which condition the living entities in material existence are creations of Brahma. It is simply ludicrous to think the living entity to be equal with the Supreme Being when one can understand that the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand. Patanjali also accepts that there are 5 kinds of Nisans as mentioned herein.
Yeah. So there are 5 types of Agyan Vrittis. Actually, they're from the reverse order. They're from back to front. So we'll discuss like one by one, each one of them. So they are also mentioned by Patanjali, Avidya, Asmita, Rag, Dves, Abhinives. That is how he explains it. So first one is, okay, Tamas. So Tamas means ignorance of one's Sarupa of Jiva. Each one of us have some relationship with Krishna, but when we come to this material world, Brahmaji puts tamas. We forget that I am soul and I am part and parcel of Krishna. That is the first one. Second one is moha. Moha means now we don't identify with our eternal Sarupa. Then we need some identification. So Brahmaji gives us self-identification with body. We identify that I am gross body and subtle body. So that is the second one. So that is how we get I, false I. Who is that I? I am this body, gross and subtle. And then third one is called Mahamoha. That is my. My means I am this body and things in my possession are objects of my enjoyment. That's called Mahamoha. But whenever we try to enjoy things in this world, we think they are in our control. We find that they are not in our control. And whenever that enjoyment is obstructed, then comes anger. Anger within mental functions. That is called Tamisra. This is the fourth one. And final is death. Unconsciousness state brought by anger. That's called Andhatamisra. Where everything is taken away, person is so angry, he practically becomes unconscious, he dies. That's called Andhatamisra. So first one is moha, forgetting one's actual identity. Second is mahamoha, that is having false identity. Sorry, first one is tamas. Tamas, forgetting one's own identities. Moha is the wrong identity. Mahamoha is my, possessiveness of different things. Tamisra is appearance of anger whenever we can't enjoy things in this world. And Antamisra is unconscious state brought by anger. It's like, okay. Now, this is not a very appropriate example to explain. But still, I will give this example because many devotees can relate with that. So, although after coming in Krishna consciousness, we are not recommended to watch movies. But sometimes we must have watched movies. So, we can relate to it. As soon as we go in a movie theater, what is difference between the outside environment and inside environment?
Darkness.
Darkness, yes. This is the first thing. So that is exactly called moha. They also put these sort of coverings. So as soon as there is darkness, we forget who we are. So we may be ugly looking, fat, bald-headed, not like, so, but if we remember these things, we may not be very happy with our overweight, with our bodily features, with our intelligence, with our voice, how we sing. So we forget all these things and then we enter in a movie theater. That is moha. After sitting down, then what happens is the display in the theater. So what is the beginning of movies in India? What they do?
A good household will be portrayed and some newborn baby would be there or something. Good family would be there, something like that.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I have not watched movies since many days. But generally we have introduction. So hero comes and all men think that I'm the hero, although they don't look like hero, but in the movie at least we can imagine we are heroes. All women, although no, they may not be like heroine, but they start feeling I'm like heroine. So they're introduced. So that is how comes. Second one is Mahamoha. Sorry, Moha. Moha means we start identifying with some personality who we are not. That is Moha. And then comes Mahamoha. Mahamoha means then comes actress, supporting actress. And supporting actors, we say they are our friends. And then comes villain, he's our enemy. Comedian, he's there to entertain us. So that is how we start identifying with the world in the screen. That's called Mahamoha. And then hero wants to meet the heroine wants to meet the hero, but suddenly villain comes in between and cancels the whole plan. And then comes Tamisra. Anger comes. And then finally hero wins. He's a big champion. And as soon as he wins, the movie is over. Then the whole movie is over. That's end of enjoyment. That is Anadamisra. So that is how, of course, we can't every time relate with the movie because movies where we are not actively participating, whereas soul is very active also. But the point is that this is exactly what happens with everyone. That is how we try to enjoy this world. All these 5 types of aganvrittis are there. So that's explained by 5 types of ignorance. And same thing is explained by Patanjali also. Avidya, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Avinivesh. So these 5 synonyms are there which are similar to Tamas, Moha, Mahamoha, Tamisra and Antamisra. So similar thing is given by Patanjali also. So we'll not go in that corollary, what is corresponding to what. Okay. So Diksha Mataji, all her question is answered now. She was worrying about the 5 types of aganvrittis.
Prabhuji, one point last that you told that unconscious after Tamishra, anger, one becomes unconscious also. So that comes in under Tamishra only, death se pehle.
Under Tamisra only. Under Tamisra time we become unconscious means we totally give up this body because of unconsciousness. So it is such a frustration at the end of life. It's like no whole lives of projects where we have made big buildings. Women after it takes year for women to have their own kitchen set up. For men to make whole buildings and make career and everything and collect the money and put things in place. And at the time of death, everything is gone. Whole thing is gone. So it's great frustration. And because of that, person becomes unconscious.
And Prabhuji, one time I can ask after 7 p.m. I have 2 doubts, but we can go with the flow. I have 2 doubts which maybe which will get cleared maybe on the way. So I can wait after 7 p.m.
You can ask at 6:55. 7 o'clock I have another class. I have another Bhakti Bhava class till 9:30. 7 to 9:30. So 6:55 you can ask. So please read third text and translation. Purport, translation purport.
Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. Purport: although he created the different influences of nescience, Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task, but he had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15 that he is present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to either remember or forget. The question may be raised why the Lord, who is all merciful, helps one to remember and another to forget. Actually, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. The living entity, as part and parcel of the Lord, is partially independent because he partially possesses all the qualities of the Lord. Anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards nescience, the all-merciful Lord first of all tries to protect him from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, the Lord helps him to forget his real position. The Lord helps the falling living entity glide down to the lowest point, just to give him the chance to see if he's happy by misusing his independence. Almost all the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are misusing their independence, and therefore 5 kinds of nescience are imposed upon them. As an obedient servitor of the Lord, Brahma creates all these as a matter of necessity, but he's not happy in doing so, because a devotee of the Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization get full facilities from the Lord for executing their proclivities to the fullest extent, and Brahma helps in that procedure without fail.
So that is how this whole world is created to facilitate the desires of living entities to enjoy separate from Krishna, at the end of which they understand we can't enjoy separate from Krishna. So let us cooperate with Krishna in fulfilling his desires, and that is how our desires will also be fulfilled. So that is how we personally are given these 5 types of necessities by Brahma because we want it. Like we are the one who purchase a ticket for like movies. Similarly, we also come to this movie also, this movie hall, this world. And Brahmaji does his service. But Brahmaji is not very happy with that. Because it is such a suffering for the living entity. And because of that unhappiness, now he wants to do something positive. He had created Agyan, which is product of mode of passion and ignorance. Now he is going to create Gyan, which is product of mode of goodness. So that is how he creates 4 Kumaras. Just please read 4th and then 5th translation purport.
In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanak, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semen flowing upwards. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The 4 sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, declined to become family men even on the request of their great father Brahma. Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in the false relationship of family bondage. People may ask how the Kumaras could refuse the orders of Brahma, who was their father and above all, the creator of the universe. The reply is that one who is Vasudev Parayan or seriously engaged in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead Vasudev need not care for any other obligation. It is enjoined in the Bhagavatam 11.5.41. Deva Shri Bhutaptanidam Pitrinam Naking Karonayam Reni Charajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Paritya Kartam. Anyone who has completely given up all worldly relationships and has taken absolute shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, who gives us salvation and who alone is fit to be taken shelter of, is no longer a debtor or servant of anyone, including the demigods, forefathers, sages, other living entities, relatives, and members of human society. Thus, there was nothing wrong in the acts of the Kumaras when they refused their great father's request that they become family men.
So it was Brahmaji's service to create progeny. So he created these 4 Kumaras from his Gyan Sakti, which is in mode of goodness. But then all these 4 Kumaras were so much in mode of goodness, they said, no, we won't create any progeny. So Prabhupada writes that there was nothing wrong from their side because they wanted to ultimately practice devotion service, Vasudev Parayan. So for a higher purpose, one can give up the lower dharma for a higher dharma. Otherwise, one should follow the lower dharma also, as far as possible. But whenever there is a higher purpose, one can give up the lower dharma. That's what Prabhupada explains here. And there are famous verses which Prabhupada quotes at many places. So generally people are indebted to the demigods because they give us the necessity of life. We are indebted to Bhutamis, different living entities. Now, because they give us silk, they give us grains by plowing the fields, etc., etc. Cows give us milk. Aptam is relatives. They help us in our material life. Other people, they help us like serving us, like servants, etc. Pitris, they helped us to give up this body, get this body. So we have indebtedness to all the people, but if one surrenders to Krishna, then all the debts are taken out. It's like no more debts. Please read 6th translation.
On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express.
Yeah. So Brahma intellectually knew that they are doing the right thing, but because so much desire was there to serve Krishna, so that desire was obstructed. Kamesa, krodesa. So as soon as some desire is obstructed, anger comes out. So even in the service of Krishna, if there is obstruction, some anger comes out, that is considered okay. Like Prabhupada would be sometimes frustrated because this project was not working or that project was not working. And that is considered transcendental anger. So there also anger is there. So anger which comes in the service of the Lord, that's called transcendental. And anger which comes from the obstruction of sense gratification, that is material anger, that is condemned. So Brahma knew that they are doing the right thing, but what to do? He also wanted to, he had his own project given by Krishna. So he wanted to do that project, and that was obstructed. And because of that, although he didn't speak anything, it came in his mind. And his anger is not ordinary. So something comes out of that anger. So that is explained in 7 to 20. Please read 7, 8, and 9.
Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between the eyebrows, and a child mixed blue and red was immediately generated. After his birth, he began to cry, "O Destiny Maker, Teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place." The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, "Do not cry. I shall certainly do as you desire."
So from between his eyebrows came Rudra. And then he was having mixed blue and red color. Generally, red represents mode of passion and blue represents mode of ignorance. And he began to cry. He was saying, "Give me some name. Give me some place to stay." And Brahmaji said, "Don't worry, I will give you the name as well as place." Please read 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Thereafter, Brahma said, O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people, because you have so anxiously cried. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Manu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadwaja, Ugrera, Bhava, Kala, Vamadeva, and Dhritravrata. Dhritravrata.
Ritavrata. So that is how he says that you will be called Rudra, one who does Rudan, one who cries. So, and then he says, where will you stay? You will stay in the heart of people. Anger is there in the heart. Anger is expressed through the senses. Whenever anger is there, years of life become, they start moving very quickly, very swiftly. People start breathing very quickly. So you can stay there. You can stay in sky, air, fire, water, earth, sun, moon, and austerities. So whenever we perform a lot of austerities, then also some anger comes. We are doing Nidal Ekadasi, and next day we are expecting water. And instead of water, something else comes. Somebody comes and gives us garland and pays obeisance, Prabhuji. No, you did so much of austerity, you are so nice. So then anger comes. I don't want garland, I want water. So austerity also causes anger. That's why you'll find many yogis who do a lot of austerities like Durvasa Muni, they are like filled with anger. Of course, Durvasa Muni is also incarnation of Rudra. And then these 11 Rudras, their name are given here: Manu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva. Shiva is one of them. Ridhvaja, Ugra, Reta, Bhav, Kal, Vamdev, Dhritvata. And these all the 11 Rudras, they come from Sankarsan, their Agni. So 11 Sankarsan destroys the world. All these 11 Agnis, they come, they help in destroying the world. So that is how this particular names are given here. Okay. Now we'll go to 13th. 14th also your purport. And their wives are also given here. So please read 13th, 14th, and 14th purport.
O Rudra, you also have 11 wives called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Dhi, Dhriti, Rasala, Oma, Neud, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha, and Diksha. Text 14. My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. Brahma, as the father of Brahma, as the father of Rudra, selected the wives of his son, his living places, and his names as well. It is natural that one should accept the wife selected by one's father, just as a son accepts the name given by the father, or as he accepts the property offered by the father. That is a general course in increasing the population of the world. On the other hand, the Kumaras did not accept the offering of their father because they were elevated far beyond the business of generating a greater number of sons. As the son can refuse the order of the father for higher purposes, so the father can refuse to maintain his sons in increasing population because of higher purposes.
So sons can refuse the order of the father to get married, although father is the one who gives property, body, as well as selects the wife for the son. But these laws can be transgressed for the purpose of practicing Krishna consciousness. So it's like father is selecting a wife which is not conducive for Krishna consciousness, one can say no. Or Father is telling to get married and son wants to take to renounce order of life, he can say no. Similarly, father also, if he feels that he can't create a lot of progeny, too many sons, so that he can practice Krishna consciousness, that is also okay. Otherwise, generally one is supposed to have a lot of children. So therefore, purpose of Krishna consciousness one can do. So that's what Prabhupada explains here. So these Rudras, in rare conditions, sometimes living entities also are allowed to become Rudras. But generally, it is Shiva Tattva. Please read 14, 15, 16, 17.
The most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offspring exactly resembling him in features, strength, and furious nature. The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra were unlimited in number, and when they assembled together, they attempted to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entities, saw this, he became afraid of the situation. Brahma told Rudra, "O best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me."
So these people, they now, creation has not begun and they start destruction. Brahmaji told them, create, and instead of creating, they start destroying everything. So Brahmaji is saying, no, what type of children are they? They're supposed to help me in my creation. Rather than the creation, whatever creation I have done personally, they're destroying that also. And then they start attacking even Brahma also. So you can just read 18, 19, 20, and then we'll take the questions.
My dear son, you had better situate yourself in penance, which is auspicious for all living entities and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was before. By penance only can one even approach a personality of Godhead who is within the heart of every living being, living entity, and at the same time beyond the reach of all senses. Sri Maitreya said, thus Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas. Addressing him with words of assent, he entered the forest to perform austere penances.
Yeah. So when somebody is creating a lot of destruction, tell him increase the sadhana. So do a lot of sadhana, you will not disturb other people, you will also get purified. So very nice solution for people who are getting a lot of disturbance in life. So Brahma did the same thing. He told him, now you do tapasya. And Rudra also followed it peacefully. It's like, because his work is at the end of day of Brahma. So for whole of the part of creation, there's no seva for him, nothing to destroy. So that's why Brahma tells him, you do tapasya. At the end of creation, end of the day of Brahma, there will be service for these Rudras. That time they can do their service. And they agreed also for that. Okay. So now you have some questions, Diksha Mataji. You can ask your questions.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, that somebody asked me a question that how did creation come? So she is a new girl. So I wanted to ask, like, when we are telling to the new people, like, how did creation come? So how much should we tell? Because whole Canto 3 is about creation. So, like, how should we explain this topic? Because when I start to explain, I also get confused because I feel that this is a very vast topic. So one, how to refine my understanding, and second, that how should I start this topic to somebody who's a newcomer.
So when somebody is newcomer, we also have to see the background of that person. Is he very technical, not technical? So depend on that. So some people who are very technical, we can talk about all 24 elements and all these details. That impresses them, and then they are attracted to Krishna consciousness, Sankhya, etc. But those are not very intellectual. We can answer them in very simple terms, that how it came from Krishna, that's all.
So,
So-
Prabhuji, we start from that from Krishna came Brahma, and from Brahma came the entire universe.
Actually, for them, it's like very easy to understand the creation given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That from Brahma came other incarnations. Similarly, Lord expands as Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu, he breathes out and the universe comes out. And then Lord expands as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. From his navel comes the lotus, Brahma comes and Brahma creates this world. Very easy. Like within 5-10 minutes, you can explain.
And Prabhuji, I started, and then she cross-questioned me that, like, then we are made from, we are created by Brahma, but the fact is that in what were our karmas that made us bring to this human form of life? Were we not part of Krishna when we were born? So we're part of Krishna, we were so pure. So how was it that the first time we got polluted by the contaminations of the world? When was it the first time?
Okay, so this is, I think we discussed here before, maybe in some other batch we discussed this. It's like very famous question. So everybody in the spiritual world also always has a choice to enjoy with Krishna or enjoy separate from Krishna. So that is always there. So now the different opinion of different acharyas, some devotees, some acharyas say, no, we came from Brahmajyoti. Some say that no, we come from spiritual world. So we won't go in that controversy, that different controversy, origin of Jiva. But the point is, we always have choice to stay in the spiritual realm or in the material realm. So we come here, but then to fulfill that desire, all other illusions come, which is considered a contamination. Like for example, we may think that we may just go to shopping complex and just come back. But when we go to shopping complex, although we don't have desire to enjoy so much of variety, by seeing the place, we get attracted by the variety. So many varieties of clothes are there. Especially some devotees, I remember they went to China, some of the marketplaces. They said every vital differences in designs, color, everything is there in their big warehouses are there. So practically speaking, whatever desire you have, you will get all the detailed things there. So you slowly go, you'll purchase something and come back. Such big warehouses are there in filled with materials in China. So similarly, when we come here also, there are 8.4 million variety of clothes in the supermarket given by Maya Devi. Enjoy any one of them. So initially we come with a subtle desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, but then we develop different details of desires, how we want to enjoy separate from Krishna. So when we say contamination, generally contamination means misidentification with the body. But even before misidentification with the body, there was a desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. Okay. And that is the meaning of love. That is the meaning of love. Love means you can choose to love me or not choose to love me. That is called love. If you are bound to love me, then that is not called love. That is called, catching a gun and putting on person's head and saying, no, you have to love me. So similarly, everybody has this choice all the time, whether to love Krishna or not love Krishna, to enjoy with Krishna or separate from Krishna. Okay. I hope your question is answered.
Yes, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, when we go in from one species to another, so is it first the human beings come, like last we were learning, and then you told that human beings, animals, demigods, like 4 varieties are coming. So is it a specific order which is coming, that before human being we were in lower consciousness? Is it somewhere mentioned in the Bhagavatam?
Okay, actually Prabhupada has spoken 2 things. First time when we come in this world, sometimes Prabhupada says that we come as Brahma, sometimes Prabhupada says we come as human beings. So both the quotations are there. I have seen both in the Prabhupada books. And lower species, there's an order. That Prabhupada explained this verse, Jalada Namalakshani, Stavalang Vimsati. So generally, from lower species mentioned here, we go to higher and higher species. And when we get a higher species like a body of a cow, tiger, or an elephant, then next body is generally human body. So we evolve from lower species to higher species. And Prabhupada would say this is the actual evolution, theory of evolution. Not that we change the body themselves, not like that. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Premananda Gopinath.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text number 3. This chapter, text number 3. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful tax, Brahma did not feel very much pleasure in his activity. Misleading creation. So Brahma did a lot of tapasya and he created these 5 avidyas. And this is misleading creation. Even after doing so much of tapasya, it so happened. And therefore, he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Again, he did meditation. Then he began another term of creation. So after doing so much of tapasya, still there was a chance for misleading.
Misleading is done as a service only. Misleading is done as a service only. But because this is more dealing with avidya, which is in mode of passion ignorance, so he had to do meditation to come to mode of goodness so that he can create something from vidya. But he was not happy with this seva. See, sometimes we get a seva of crowd control. I don't know whether you have done this seva. You have done this seva of crowd control?
Yes, Prabhuji, I did.
So is it pleasing seva?
But seva.
One who does crowd control gets so much curses. So many curses. Like especially in Calcutta Rath Yatra. Currently I am not here, but for so many years I did a seva. If we become, either we stand on the door for collecting coupons for prasadam, or we do crowd control. These two services we get so much of curses. People don't see us like, even human beings, what to say of seeing us as like devotees. So, but that is a service, somebody has to do it. So similarly, Brahmaji, he had to do this service. Okay.
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah. So nice example to relate. Okay, so we'll end here. Tantra Siman Bhagavatam ki Vancha Kalpadurvasa Kripa Sindhya Patidana Pavane Vaishnava Namanam.